Hi everyone, so today I wanted to talk about a subject I get asked about very often, and that's do I have OCD? And I know that kind of seems a little bit redundant since this is an OCD channel and most people understand that they have OCD, but there's always that doubt that, well, what if I'm a bad person? What if this is not OCD? What if it's just me? What if this is all real? What if I'm really having these thoughts? And the Goldman rule of that is that if you are having those kind of thoughts, that if you're having the thoughts, what if this is not OCD? Then this automatically means that you do have OCD. Because a person who is a truly bad person, and I'm not trying to give you reassurance, but I'm trying to kind of give you perspective, because this is how everybody else views it. So it's not really reassurance, I find. That if you are a truly bad person, you're not going to worry about what if I have OCD. Moreover, if a person, say, is, I don't know, a serial killer, he is not going to worry about being a serial killer as part of their OCD. He's going to, as part of the OCD, he's going to be a serial killer on one side and worry about, I don't know, cleaning OCD on the other side. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to worry about something he is actually doing consciously, because he's actually doing it consciously. He's choosing to, or she's choosing to do that, right? So it's not a question of what if. And if you have a question of what if this is not OCD, what if this really happened, what if this, what if that, it automatically means that this is OCD, because if something did happen, you would not worry about the what ifs. And if you didn't have OCD, you wouldn't doubt it as being OCD. So if you didn't have OCD, you would say, okay, I feel like this or I feel like that. But you know you have OCD. You know you have OCD on this specific subject, and that's what's making you uneasy, because it goes against everything you believe in. And that's what OCD is. It's a topic that gets stuck in your mind that goes against your core belief system. So I just hope that kind of clears it up for you. And I find a lot of the times, I'm not going on another doctor rant for those people that say I do it too much, but I find that sometimes the person will go to a doctor and ask them directly, do you have OCD or not? And I mean, these are, the actual situation, right? That people go in and they ask, and a lot, this is not one specific situation. This is over and over and over again. Everybody tells me the same thing, that they go and ask, and the doctor won't clearly tell them that they have OCD. They'll say, you're just having anxiety, you're having intrusive thoughts, you're having bad thoughts, further confusing the person, and then the doctor will say, well, I don't want to give you reassurance. Well, then you've confused them on purpose. Then you're not going to give them reassurance, so they're coming out of your office feeling worse than when they came in, and there is something to be said for exposure, but this is not a correct way to do exposure, because they don't know how to react. What they're going to do is they're going to go home and they're going to analyze and they're going to worry and they're going to drive themselves crazy with it. It's not a productive way to do things. So, and that's why I'm saying that a lot of the time, again, because of all my experience, I find that people very much rely on the doctor diagnosis. Well, I was diagnosed, or I wasn't diagnosed yet, and what if? And I'm telling you, doctors are regular people. They're human beings just like you and me. Um, they wake up the same way as we do, they go to work the same way as we do. They're not super special people. They've spent only a few days out of their whole school, like medical school career, going over OCD. So chances are that by now, watching this channel, I'm sure if you're watching this channel, you're also having going through other resources for OCD. I almost guarantee you that you know more about OCD than they do. So yes, their opinion is important. Yes, going to the doctor is important, but it shouldn't be obsessively important. Do you know what I'm saying? You shouldn't say, well, it's a doctor, in that kind of way, because there are very good doctors out there, and then there's also very bad doctors out there that, they don't specialize in OCD, and they might tell you the wrong thing or might confuse you. So I would say that go with your gut feeling. If you feel like you are having an OCD thought, if it's bothering you, then it's OCD, and just move on from it and solve it. Moreover, OCD is just a higher form of anxiety. Okay, so you might it starts out as anxiety and goes up and up and up until it hits that highest point where it's OCD, you know. So really, if you get down to the bottom of it, all of these things are solved the same way. So just like we are disregarding an OCD thought of, for example, you were driving and think you hit somebody, right? The same way you can disregard a thought about, well, what if I get fired tomorrow from my job? You know, it can also become an intrusive thought, and it can even get to an OCD level, you know. You can even get to a false memory level where you think, well, my boss already said something to me. What if he meant that he was going to fire me? You know, it can get to any level as long as you let it, right? And the trick is not to let it get to that level, you know, because it starts out as an anxiety thing and just goes up until it hits OCD unless it is stopped. And most people who even have anxiety, they do end up stopping it before it gets to that point. So, say for example, with the driving situation or with a job situation, everybody worries about their job. Everybody worries about driving, you know, to a certain extent, right? But they just think like, okay, well, I'm not fired or I didn't hit anybody. I'm just silly. I'm moving on, you know. But the more you dig, if they chose to dig into it and think, well, how did the person look when they were talking to me, or how was there anybody around when I was driving, or things like that, then you start to get caught up in it, and it becomes deeper and deeper and deeper until it hits OCD level. And then once it hits OCD level, the brain becomes starts being on very high alert and sends you more of the same thoughts because you reacted as if the thought is important. So it's like a snowball effect that happens. So what I'm telling you is that if you feel like you have gotten to a level of OCD, you have to stop disregarding the thought. If you feel like, what if it's not OCD and just anxiety, you have to stop and start disregarding and disregard the thought. The process is the same for all anxiety issues, no matter where you are on that scale. But again, what I keep saying is, in my experience, I have never ever seen a person who said, "What if I don't have OCD?" and they ended up not having OCD. It's OCD is one of those things that it's very very clear when a person has OCD. It's clear to the person. It's clear to everybody around them. It's not, you know, there's other illnesses like, for example, schizophrenia, where the person thinks everybody else around them is crazy and they're all right. Do you know what I mean? Um, But with OCD, the person knows that there's something wrong. The person knows logically that there's no need to worry, but they can't stop themselves. You know, and sometimes in the beginning, they don't even know that they don't need to worry because they think, well, I remember this and I remember that, and I can't let go of the thought. So all of these things, you know this, you've been through it millions of times, and you know, if you're doubting it, but you are in the situation that I'm describing, then it's OCD. You have to just make peace that it's OCD, and you need to move on, you know, because that can be an obsession all on its own, whether you have OCD or not, and it can become just like the driving obsession, just like the cleaning obsession, to that extent. So it's very important to stop it before it gets to that point. I hope this video clears it up for you. If you have any questions, you guys know where to find me. You can email me privately at info@youhaveocd.com. Also, if you visit youhaveocd.com, I have my recovery program there that's just working with me one-on-one. The ebooks are always all there, and I have a lot of free material there as well. So please check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.